We're up to our entire interview with Nick Feldman of Wang Chung, where we talk about the hits. Everybody have fun tonight, dance hall days. And what a craze it was in the 80s to be a rock star. He tells some great, great stories. Nick Feldman, Wang Chung, on Rock History Book. Wang Chung, now there's a name that takes you back to the heart of the 1980s. This British new wave band had their roots in London, but their sound, pure global appeal really. Formed in 1980, the band's name comes from a Chinese phrase meaning yellow bell, the first note in the Chinese classical music scale. But Wang Chung's music hit a lot of the high notes really, with audiences worldwide. Nick Feldman and Jack Hughes were the masterminds behind Wang Chung. After experimenting with different sounds and names, including Hung Chung, they finally found the magic formula that would catapult them to really big international stardom. Their breakout hit, Dance Hall Days, was released in 1984 and got everyone moving with a very infectious rhythm. Here's a tune that had catchy hooks and polished productions, and the track was a mainstay on airwaves and a classic of the MTV era. But there was more when it came to Wang Chung. In 1986, they released their biggest hit, Everybody Have Fun Tonight. The song became an anthem with an unforgettable chorus, of course, Everybody Wang Chung Tonight. It reached the #2 spot on the Billboard Hot 100, which really solidified the band's place in popular culture. The energy and the vibe and the sheer fun of the song kind of embodied a decade that was carefree. Their other hits like Let's Go and To Live and Die in LA showed they weren't just about having fun. Wang Chung were one of those bands that defined the 80s. What's your take on still doing it after all these years?
It's so gratifying, and to be able to connect with the people who have, they can testify to you directly what it means to them and how it's affected their lives, and they're still here. They are, and they're turning their kids onto it, and so that it's not just this generation; it's younger generations as well. It's incredibly inspiring, and it really puts a spring in our old steps. You know what I mean? Keeps you a bit younger, and it gives you that energy to sort of jump around on stage and come up and want to do a really good show for them,
Sure.
and to keep artistically sort of motivated, because I think we are. We do like we are artistically motivated. We like to do a good show. We like to really think about what we're doing from a musical point of view as well as a performance point of view. So it's a wonderful synergy, and God knows we didn't expect any of this 40 years ago. No way.
A kid who started playing that instrument way back when, he still lives inside you. You're still in contact with him.
Oh, definitely. I mean, look, you've got to be a bit more careful these days. If you sort of overstep the mark with your if you don't go to bed when you should do and all that kind of stuff, then you pay the price for that. That's for sure. But yes, at heart, I think music's about playing, isn't it? Like a child plays. We call it playing your instrument. You're playing, and I think that's a wonderful thing to be able to connect with, that sort of childlike, direct, expressive thing. And so to still be able to do that and to be in the medium of doing that for a living as well is just amazing. And we do it whether we got paid or not, frankly, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel very blessed, very lucky.
It's my wheelhouse. Wang Chung, you guys, Men Without Hats, Motels, Naked Eyes. I played all you guys right in the beginning of my career, which, again, in the beginning, it's like the first girlfriend, it's like the first job, it's like the first whatever, that fervor that comes along with it. Tell me how that feels getting with teaming with these guys.
I think it's actually it's a lot more harmonious than maybe back in the day. I think there's a slightly more competitive edge, and maybe we're all slightly less sort of what's the word, connected in some way. Whereas now that we're a bit sort of older and wiser, or apparently wiser, and I think there's a sense that we're all in it together. So it's nice, and we get along well, and our music fits very nicely together. So it's a nice sort of 360 kind of journey, 80s journey through 80s music. with the bands that are playing on this tour. I think we all fit well together musically and as you know personally. So I think the audience will will feel it in a good way. I think it's going to be a good experience for them.
Orchestral tours. What was the impetus to that? How did that start when you guys did that?
What the orchestrography? You mean our
Yeah.
orchestral album?
Yeah.
That actually we've got to be slightly thankful to Mike Score of Flock of Seagulls. He'd done. There's a record label called August Day. They'd done an orchestral album with Mike, and they were saying, "Look, who else? Who do you think we should work with? You know, we want to do another one." And he said, "Oh, we should work with Wang Chung." So they were, "Oh, Wang Chung, we love Wang Chung." So they were fans of ours. So he hooked us up, and I had to talk Jack into it at first. He was a bit skeptical, but once I'd managed to talk him into it, we sort of jumped on it, and it was a great experience to be working with the Prague Philharmonic, you know, and uh, we actually got our hands properly dirty with the orchestral arrangements, you know. So we were had a lot of opinions about it, and we changed a lot of stuff, and we got very involved in the design of it. So it was a wonderful experience and something we hadn't done before. I think it worked out really well, brought something new out of the songs. And I think, you know, funny you should mention it. We are just starting to plan doing an orchestral show later this year to you know perform those arrangements. We haven't decided where yet, possibly in London, but we're excited about that, the prospect of doing an orchestral show. And if we can tour it, we'll do that too, you know.
Yeah. Tell me about the name of the band. How did that come about?
That is the most asked question in the history of mankind. I know you got to do your job. Um, well, it's kind of, I'll blame Jack for that, although I have to take some responsibility myself. Jack was reading this book about uh, the famous German electronic composer Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. It was a very academic, intellectual book. And there was a footnote in the book about this thing called Wang Chung, which is a kind of Chinese musical term. It sort of means perfect pitch, I suppose. And it sort of appealed to him he said sheepishly to me one day, "What do you think about calling the band Wang Chung?" I was like, I think he expected me to go, "What? Are you crazy? What does that mean?" But it just appealed to me. There's something eccentric about it and a bit mysterious. So I said, "Okay, let's do that." I think he was quite shocked by that. So, I mean, thank God it worked out rather well. We ended up using it in one of our songs, which made it kind of household name, you know, and a sort of it became an expression, you know, part of it's in the what's it called, the dictionary, the Urban Dictionary. Lots of quite rude definitions of it in there, but you know, it's amazing. I think it encapsulates the two sides of Wang Chung, the sort of slightly more the deeper side, you know, but also the kind of poppy, sort of easy to digest side. So the Wang Chung is like the sound of the guitar or a sound effect or something frothy and on the top, but then there's a deeper undertone to the whole thing. I think that's you know that's what our music's like. That's what we do. It's not just one thing.
You know, when Dance Hall Days came out, I remember, I don't know if it ever got back to you guys because obviously it's a big world and there's a lot of reviews, but someone had said that Jack and the instrumentation, they just said that Jack and the instrumentation of this band is probably one of the best fits, especially with him, because you could tell his voice. He had a distinctive voice, which can kill a band or it can really help a band where you
Yeah.
go, I know that guy. When Jack sang and when I heard the instrumentation of Dance Hall Days, it just stopped me in my tracks. I'm going, I get what they're saying. Like the fact that the the music, the singer, everything works together like something I can't explain, but I
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah. No, I mean, Jack's got a sort of very unique voice. It's a very, you know, I think when we're Jack and I are sort of able to work in different sort of styles and genres. So I think we're musically sort of quite interested in lots of different things, from kind of black dance music to prog rock. You know what I mean? I think we cover quite a broad area of music, and we're both able to operate in all of those. You know, so I think the sort of sound picture that we are able to create, together with his very strong and unique voice, I think that's quite a compelling. It has a compelling effect on people, and I mean, it's quite interesting when we play live. You know, when we can play a longer set and do deeper cuts as well as, you know, the hits. I think people are often quite sort of taken aback. Oh shit, I didn't realise that it was they did that song, and oh wow, they did that song. When they hear it all together, they sort of hadn't realised, you know. But it all hangs together really well, actually, in this thing called Wang Chung, this slightly sort of mysterious thing called Wang Chung. A bit like the name, it's sort of hard to pin it down to one thing. But I think that that keeps life more interesting for us, and I think for the audience too. And I think it's funny enough, as we get older and as time goes by, I think that sort of works out better and better for us somehow.
Did you guys ever run into Talk Talk Mark Hollis?
We both like Talk Talk a lot. We loved that, you know, their stuff, Spirit of Eden and stuff. We worked with Tim Breeze Green, their producer.
Hmm.
We did the action an early version of Dancehall Days with Tim Breeze Green. It was it well, it's quite a long story, but we were signed to Arista Records, and Arista Records was starting to lose. We hadn't had the big hit that they expected us to have, and that's what we recorded the Wang Chung album with Arista Records. When that wasn't quite the proper hit that they were expected, I think they was losing a bit of faith. But that was the time that we came up with Dancehall Days, the song, and we went to the studio with Tim Freeze Green to record that. Um, it was good, but it wasn't quite right. Uh, and that was the point we managed to get out of the Arista deal and sign to Geffen. When they heard the demo of Dancehall Days, they just freaked out. So, so we didn't. I don't think we met Mark Hollis, but we were big fans of Talk Talk, and hence, you know, wanting to work with Tim Breeze Green.
I did a thing when Mark passed. I did this long thing on their best songs, and the fact that most people don't realize that when Mark went off in this ethereal kind of deep space, well, I wouldn't say space, but he went. It was not
Yeah,
what fans, top 40 fans, and it's that dichotomy, that difference between what pop hits, and if people would give a
yeah,
chance to something that musically a lot of people said was better or at least deeper.
yeah,
I mean, what is better,
yeah. No,
right? What is better?
no, no. You're right. You're right. I agree. There was, yeah. I think that you're sort of saying that there's something similar with us. I think you're right. You know, there's that kind of To Live and Die in LA, deeper, long form stuff,
Very much.
and then there's the Everybody Have Fun Tonight and Let's Go, and so yeah, there's definitely those two sides, which is, you know, we're putting out a greatest hits later this year. It's called Clear Light, Dark Matter, and in a way, Clear Light, Dark Matter. It's like the yin and the yang of Wang and the Chung. You know, the different sides of the pop stuff and the more sort of deeper stuff. And sometimes it meshes together in certain songs, and it's going to be it's like one CD and two vinyl albums
Cool.
of the all the hits, plus some really interesting old rarities and unreleased stuff as well. So it's going to be it's a limited edition collector's item. It's going to be it's a beautiful sort of thing to have.
Dance Hall Days, which you probably know on Spotify, it's interesting that Everybody Have Fun Tonight was a bigger hit, but it's strange how things change because moods,
Yeah.
movies, whatever you're
Mhm.
placed on. Dance Hall Days is your biggest song at 146 on Spotify, 146 million, while Everybody Have Fun Tonight is at 39.
Mhm.
But Dance Hall Days, that opened doors. Tell me about that song. What can you share about that song?
It was actually one of the most amazing things about that song for me as the bass player was, well, a that we recorded it in Abbey Road Studios.
Yeah.
I'm left-handed, so I'm a left-handed bass player. We'd sort of done a mix of it, but the bass just wasn't sounding. The sound of it wasn't right. So the engineer said, "We need to try another bass guitar on it." So I said, "Well, I haven't got one." So he said, "Hang on, just wait a minute. I think I can get one from somewhere. Just sit there and wait." So sitting there waiting, and then suddenly this guy walks into the studio holding a bass, saying he's from the bass rental company, and so okay, great. And then it was like, oh, that's Paul McCartney. It was Paul McCartney basically lending us his bass. So I played Paul McCartney's bass on Dance Hall Days. That's what you hear is his bass, and I'm playing it, and that was. I mean, we were kind of speechless. Jack and I are massive Beatles fans, the huge influence on us. So to be in Dark Abbey Road and then for Paul McCartney to lend me his bass, we're convinced that's why it was our first massive hit.
Dance Hall Days being that big, are you surprised after looking back, or?
No, actually, because I think there's something about it. It's got that thing about it. Um, I think there's a sort of, again, a slight mystery to it. I mean, it's quite funny over the years, the chorus, we were cool on craze in our dance hall days. Now, back in the 80s, people used to come up to us and go, "Oh, that song about Jesus is totally brilliant. I love it." Like, what? What are you talking about? We were cool on Christ. And it's not, we people thought we were singing about Jesus, and we weren't, But the fact that it could sort of people could mishear the lyrics and sort of it sort of resonate with them. It's just got something about it, that song. And I think, obviously it's been used in a lot of movies and commercials and stuff. That's helped its life, I think, a lot. But you just don't know, do you? It's just, I think the lyric is quite what's the word? It's quite rude in places actually, but it's all completely encoded, shall we say? So there's something going on with that song that you've got to. It just kind of you feel it. Everybody Have Fun Tonight started life as a much slower song. It was almost kind of Hey Jude kind of tempo. And when we recorded it, I came up with this idea of Everybody Have Fun Tonight. But when we recorded it at home in my little demo studio back in the 80s, Jack just threw in this ad lib at the end of the demo where he sang Everybody Have Fun Tonight, Everybody Wang Chung Tonight. It was just a little throwaway ad lib. So when we played the demo to Peter Wolf, who was going to produce what was to become Mosaic album, he was like, "Oh, I love that. I love this song. It's so great. It's much too slow. You got to speed it up, and you just got to rewrite it. Man, it should say everybody have fun tonight. Everybody Wang Chung tonight. Every chorus should be that." So when we were recording the album, I sort of went to work trying to reconstruct the whole thing. I came up with this good architecture for it, played it to the guys. They were like, "Oh, that's really good." So then we put it all together in the studio very spontaneously. And it was so spontaneous, we didn't even know whether it was the worst thing we'd ever done or whether it was the best thing we'd ever done. We just put it together because normally we're much more kind of careful about stuff. And then when our manager flew in to hear it, he just absolutely went crazy and said it was the best thing he'd ever heard. And so we knew, thank God, that well, got a good chance of being a hit. And then everyone loved it after that.
Who surprised you
Okay.
the most? You've met a lot of people. People forget sometimes you're also a fan. You never stop being a fan.
Mhm.
But through the years, you've met a lot of people. Who surprised you the most?
Well, I've got to say, Paul McCartney surprised me the most. I mean, he was pretending he was from the rental company, with the instrumental rental company,
Wait a minute,
and
that was
I
him?
had no idea. It was him. He walked in with the bass. He was holding it, pretending he was from the rental company. That, and it took us like, we had to double take. It was like, I recognize it. God, it's Paul McCartney. My God. That was the
Okay.
biggest surprise I've ever had.
If you want to donate to the channel, there's a PayPal link at the very top of every video we have. Also, if you want to join our Patreon, there's a link at the very top. You'll get early access to all our videos. And a swag store. Yes, we have one where you can get rock history music and all the clothing that goes with it with those great logos. Subscribe to our channel, share our videos, comment on them, and like them as well. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.